Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Recently, we got a brand new interview with the Warzone devs. Some of the directors for Warzone from Raven and BO6 recently sat down with IGN and did a full interview detailing some of the things that have gone into Warzone and some of the latest updates, obviously with Verdansk being the focus points, but then they also talked a little bit about the future as well. And I wanted to sort of go through this and break down what exactly the devs shared and see some insight that we typically don't have unless there is this very specific situation where the devs are actually just out there talking about the game openly throughout interviews or blogs and things of that nature. So I will leave a link to this full IGN article down in the description below. The title of this, though, kind of interesting. They say Verdansk has given Warzone a shot in the arm and its developers say it's not going anywhere. Solid title considering there's already been a ton of questions. Yo, are they going to remove Verdansk in the future? What's the long-term play for this? Is this just around to the next COD? What's going on? They give us some details, right? So lots and lots of questions from IGN here with some answers from Pete and then also Etienne, who work at, like I said, Raven and BO6. And initially, it starts off with saying, I imagine I fit the typical profile, which is someone who played a lot of Warzone during lockdown and was enticed by the return of Verdansk. Was that the point in all this, to get lapsed Warzone fans back in the game and now it's been out for a while? Is that what you're seeing happening? Pete says, we hit our 5th anniversary for Warzone. We wanted to bring back Verdansk for quite some time now. It just felt like it was the right timing. When we were talking about bringing it back, it wasn't just bringing back the map. It was more than that. Over the last few years, we've learned a lot and experimented with a lot. Obviously going through all the Warzone original stuff with Warzone 1, MW 2019, Cold War, and then also Vanguard, and then really experimenting with Warzone 2 and seeing quite a bit of that stuff backfire, kind of getting back on track with MW3 Warzone and everything there, right? The one thing you can say about Warzone, it's constantly changing for the good or for the bad. Like, they know absolutely they made changes that have gone over well, and they've made some changes that really have not been great. It is something that we just try and keep evolving, and we listen to the players and we take some shots, and sometimes they land and sometimes they don't. But when we talk about bringing Verdansk back, it was very important for us to bring back a nostalgic moment in time as best as we could and be respectful of that as well. During Warzone 1, it was a special time in the world. It was crazy. It was something we all experienced together individually, and Warzone created this social experience in a way that was pretty new to Call of Duty, so we wanted to pay homage to that as best we could. We looked at every single component of what made Warzone special back in 2020. We wanted to treat it right. On the gameplay side, we wanted to make sure that all the design principles and all the reasons that we added things that we did back then, were they still viable? Could we do those again? Are those still fun mechanics and loops? And if we were to bring them back, we wanted to make sure we did it with the right intent, and that's why I think it stuck around so well post-launch. Right now, it's getting great feedback from the community. They seem to really be enjoying it. We're players too, so we wanted to build an experience that we fell in love with back in 2020. So yeah, it's worked out. We're really careful about what we do in game right now because we want to hit that sweet spot of nostalgia a bit, and people seem to be enjoying it, so we're pretty excited by it as players as well. Then Etienne adds on here saying, we know that gaming in general goes pretty fast. Obviously, you know, games are banging one day, they're the #1 on the sales charts one day, and then a week later they're gone. We've seen this happen a lot, especially over the last few years. 5 years of Warzone just went by really fast. We've tried so many things, but each day Verdansk was still in the discussion in the bucket of ideas, like, oh, we should return to that place someday. But it was not just a matter of, oh, we're gonna port that thing towards the new engine and the new Call of Duty. It was really more like, let's bring out the best version of Verdansk, which I think is definitely the better way to approach it. Had they just straight up said, okay, Call of Duty, it's Warzone, it's staying as is, but now you're on Verdansk, this whole integration, this whole update here could have gone very differently. So I'm glad that they took the time personally to sort of revisit just the gameplay loop in general on top of Verdansk as a map. They go on to say, just to be sure that we remade everything from the ground up, the sky, the player visibility, the audio, everything there. There's a lot of stuff that we put a lot of energy into, and we're seeing the result right now. We're playing the game and it's just like, yeah, it feels great. So we're eager to give it to the player, and the answer is really successful right now. So we are really happy, and just like Pete mentioned, I think it's only a beginning, and we'll continue to challenge ourselves to see if we need to make some changes and some improvements. IGN goes on to ask, the online sentiment does look pretty positive right now, and you know that the online sentiment across places like Reddit and social media has certainly not always been positive about Warzone, especially in recent years. Is that something you're seeing in the data? Are you seeing more people returning to play Warzone? So obviously we don't get a good look at player counts. It's just Steam, which is really not that much. It's the smaller player bases we know, and presumably, you know, this is post Game Pass updates now, so Microsoft PC Store, Xbox, those numbers definitely way more up than we've ever really seen, and we haven't gotten data on that stuff since that update has happened. So we truly have no actual realistic and sound evidence of what the player base truly is. we can just go off of what the devs are seeing in their back end, where obviously, yes, they have full access to seeing how many players are online per platforms at what times and everything super detailed. So the devs say it's been pretty successful, and I think you can tell that in experience, right? Like, I'll take it when Reddit says positive things about Warzone. That is an anomaly, and I'm excited by it. Like Etienne said, we recreated Verdansk to be the best experience possible. Then we didn't stop there. This is the starting point. It is not an anomaly for where Warzone is going. We knew there was going to be a lot of players or lapsed players returning, word of mouth, like, hey, come back, check out Verdansk. We added this casual mode, which is doing really well for us, so that's interesting. Casual is actually popping off. We wanted players to come in and re-experience it at their pace or their experience for the first time in a safe way where they don't feel like they're getting sweated out or outplayed. We were very careful with crafting this experience this season, and the data is showing us that it's been really successful. We hope we can keep that momentum up. Etienne goes on to say, we have that approach of we want as many players as we can, like any dev ever, obviously, for games, right? So having that casual mode, having more quality of life, having more ways to have a stable performing game is really important, down to the rest of the chapter. And so for the rest of Warzone, how can we be in a place to welcome new players and make sure that if you were there back then, you can return to what you love? So really just trying to bridge the gap there, but also keep a nice entry barrier for those who maybe haven't played in some time. IGN asks, casual mode is what I'm playing right now as a lapsed player returning to Warzone. However, I am starting to see the sweats maybe looking at casual and going, we can have some fun there. Like, oh, maybe all the bad players that are not in my lobbies because of SBMM are in casual. Can we go pub stomp there? Which personally, I wouldn't really find that as rewarding. You're killing a bunch of bots and very few players in that mode, but maybe some people enjoy that. You can tell when you're playing it when someone is in there that shouldn't be there. This is too easy for them. Are you seeing that internally? Pete says the whole spirit of the casual mode was to give people that were scared about getting into a time commitment or a game commitment or a skill commitment with Warzone can do it on their own terms. The nice thing about it is that this is just the first rev of it. It just went live, and we're going to look at the data. We're going to evolve it even more to make sure it retains the design principles and spirit that we wanted it to have. So if we see sweats come in there and they're wrecking the whole server, then we're going to have to come up with plans against that. It's still pretty new right now. I think it's still giving players what they need in it right now. We'll just keep monitoring and evolving it. But it's a fun mode. I can't lie. I've been playing it myself, and I can play it with people that never played COD before. It's way less intimidating. But the important part out of this, and this is one of the excerpts that I really wanted to focus on, is that they're aware of when sweats jump into a mode in mass almost and start just dominating, like for instance what you could see in casual. And so they're clearly in the mindset of we want this game to be applicable for the best of the best players, but then also maybe the lower tier brackets as well. And so maybe if casual continues to get overloaded, we can see some significant changes there where perhaps there are certain requirements or criteria you have to meet to get into that mode. Like, oh, if you have X many days played, or you have X many kills, or you're in this percentage of the player base, then maybe it's going to be a different kind of matchmaking there. Who knows? That's just me tossing out ideas, but I'd be curious to see how they could combat that, because there are routes you can take, but obviously it's going to, I would assume, end up with mixed perception for sure. Now, speaking of this skill balance and everything, IGN goes, yeah, I guess when ranked starts, the sweats are probably going to gravitate towards that, and they'll have their fun there. I want to talk about more with Call of Duty lore. I remember reporting on Warzone how everything became unified and all the different brands became mashed together in a timeline, and I remember in 2021 you blew up Verdansk, and it was publicly said this is never coming back, and I believed it. So are we just supposed to go, you know what, actually it doesn't matter, it's just about the fun? Or have you come up with some story explanation for how we are back here? So first up, yes, absolutely, when we get ranked, you will start to see a difference in lobbies because a lot of sweatier players are probably going to gravitate towards that. Obviously, first time ever having ranked on Verdansk. But then as far as how Verdansk is back and what the situation is here, Pete says, I don't want to spoil any narrative bits, and that's not confirming or denying either way. It's just what we wanted to do for this moment was take a pause from any sort of timelines or anything and just say, hey, let's celebrate this moment in time and have a great time with it. That's probably why we see so many bits and like Easter eggs of old Warzone. Like you can find the blown up rocket from when they did blow up Verdansk, or parts of the ghost ship on the map and stuff like that, which doesn't make sense like timeline wise by any means. It's just there for fun. So maybe that's not canon here at all. Maybe there is no real connection. It's just a pause from everything else to enjoy what Verdansk is. If and when we introduce a narrative, we may or may not figure out how we have to resolve this again. But again, I'm not trying to spoil anything or mislead in any direction. But this season's launch was just, let's have fun and go back to this. Etienne says, I don't know if you've seen some clips around, but all I can say is that there is stuff in the map that I'm pretty sure players who know the map will definitely find some bits of info, as I was just saying here. And after that, they can figure it out. But at the same time, it's important to acknowledge some of the historical moments of 5 years of Warzone. So Verdansk is just part of that celebration. IGN then asks, a lot of people are wondering, is Verdansk here to stay? Is it like a celebration, a one-shot type thing that you're doing, or is it something that players can expect longer term and you iterate it on that basis? So the big question, what is the future of Verdansk? Pete says, we brought Verdansk back for a reason. It wasn't just to bring it back for a season and then say goodbye. A lot of effort went into it. So for the time being, Verdansk is sticking around, and this is just the beginning of the Verdansk 2025 journey. Then we'll see how things go from there. So again, no confirmation or anything on the strategy on the maps going forward, but we love Verdansk. It was a nostalgic map that we loved, and it's fun to play on. So we just want to keep investing on it and continue to make it better for our players. So Verdansk, for the time being, is not going anywhere. Obviously, this question will probably be more prominent once we get closer to COD 2025 and we have details on that integration. Are we going to see Avalon? Are we going to see a different map? Are we going to see both maps together at the same time? Who knows? But for now, Verdansk is not just like the short-lived thing. It's going to continue to evolve throughout Season 3, Season 4, Season 5, Season 6, potentially beyond that as well. They do talk a little bit about cosmetics, like players are going back and getting skins from MW2 and MW3, like prices, ghillie suits and stuff like that, because it's fun to, you know, play in the era with those skins like Modern Warfare 2019 and the Warzone 1 sort of vibe there. Also, some of them are just really good for, you know, cover and blending in and everything there, right? IGN then asks, I've been having old debates again about whether to play aggressive or just camp on a rooftop and snipe or just hide in some of the old places. When you were thinking about bringing back the map, did you consider tweaking it in such a way to encourage certain game types or gameplay styles, or did you want to recreate it as accurately as possible, so the same gameplay styles in the same place it would happen? Etienne says, we wanted to recreate those moments, but again, we've learned a lot. So just to give you a quick example, player visibility is really better right now than it was back then. Unless, of course, we're talking about the Terminator skin. Maybe people will remember Rose, but there were a lot of dark corners. That was an experience that a lot of people were not attracted by. So straight up saying, yeah, we know that people did not enjoy dying to the Rose skin back in the day, publicly going out there and saying it. Nice to hear that recognized. So we made some slight adjustments like that to make sure it's fun for everyone. Another thing was audio being really, really important for us. So just making sure that you understand from each corner where you're in is this, where the enemy is going to be and how you need to react. So again, just making sure that it's the best Verdansk version we can deliver. Pete says, we also didn't want to change too much because then it wouldn't really be what you remembered in Verdansk. The map itself had a lot of sandboxy, like, do what I want. Do I want to play long range? Do I want to go and camp on ATC or stadium? There was a lot of play potential, a lot of opportunities for close range, long range, you name it. Great fighting in the woods area north of Quarry or southwest of Hills. So to make it that reality, we went back to the core experience and made sure we were able to pay off those moments. So we returned the circle back to the way it worked originally. We allowed those wild swings for the first and the last circles, so you get more of these dynamic, crazy experiences when you're in like a super dense area like downtown. And then obviously vehicles, more impactful there. We had to remove things like the redeploy drone because all these other fast travel mechanics to make rotations a little bit more difficult. It's not just, oh, balloon, jump across the map, you're set, you're good. So really making you think more about gameplay, which I think a lot of people truly enjoy. All those things might look like individual things, but they all compound together to really form the experience. And so we were very careful. It was like, what's the experience that we really want to go after when we brought back Verdansk? So then that started peeling back the onion of like, okay, we have to change this, we should change this, this, and this. And all of it together is the sum of the parts of the beat that we're going after. We also get some TTK talk. Obviously, this has been sort of a controversial thing so far. Is the TTK too fast? Is it just right? Is it the nice balance between sweats being able to fry but casuals still standing a chance? I wanted to get some insight into time to kill and how you approach what you wanted to achieve there for Verdansk coming back. It feels shortened to me, but what exactly happened there and why did you make those changes? Pete says, comparatively to last year, the Urzikstan year, yes, it is a faster TTK. It's pretty equivalent. I don't know the exact numbers offhand, but the original experience and what we wanted to go back to for now was make it more of a casual, friendly, like if I'm not that good and I'm hitting straight shots, I have an opportunity. Exactly what I just said, basically. I'm not going to get destroyed every gunfight. There's also a lot of excitement like, ooh, I have an opportunity to get a kill. That being said, it's not like we're trying to remove skill from the game. There's a lot of skill involved, but it's approachable, which is the key difference there. And part of this was not only how do weapons handle, but also how does your movement handle in response to that? Do I feel like I can engage in combat and get a beat on somebody and react to how somebody's moving or get away from shots? So movement and gunplay are very tied to the hip, and this again is peeling the onion approach. We like where the TTK right now sits. So for those expecting drastic changes at the snap of a finger, like in Season 3 Reloaded, where it just becomes way, way slower, I wouldn't necessarily expect a huge shift like that. We will evaluate as the game progresses and see what our fans think. We're always evolving and we'll react appropriately based on that, but right now it seems like people are enjoying it. I know TTK is, some people either love it or they hate it. It just depends on their play style. It's okay to be opinionated, that's cool. We're just trying to do what's best for the larger community. So whatever the vast majority of players, which is largely casual, remember, whatever that player base is largely clinging to is likely what's going to be the decisions going forward throughout updates there. IGN then says, my first Verdansk match, I was back in the plane and there were 4 of us getting ready to jump out. One of the players was a giant TMNT turtle, and then the other one was like a fairy thing, and I was like, this is not how Warzone was back in lockdown. Was that on your minds as well, thinking of like rekindling the feeling of it was back then when some of these crazy skins were not so prevalent? Did you ever think at any point that actually it was just for the relaunch? At the start, you were going to limit it to milsim stuff, or is that just never a consideration? Pete says, we talked about it all. We left no stone unturned. We wanted to create the best version of Verdansk possible, and part of that is understanding the reality of where we're at. We're in a Black Ops 6 year, so at the end of the day, we are dealing with differences in loadouts and weaponry and even operators, although it's not like Modern Warfare throughout the years hasn't had some crazy skins. I mean, MW3 was pretty wild with stuff as well. We tried to pay homage and pay off the spirit of nostalgic experiences as best as possible. Ultimately, the end goal, though, was just to be the best version of Verdansk and Warzone to date. Part of that is respecting players' purchases. Also, just you don't want to just straight up rip away players' bundles. I don't think, even if there's legal text that says, oh, we can take this back, no one is going to be happy with that, right? So obviously they're not going to. As a player, I've invested X amount of time, money, whatever it is. This is who I like to play with. Okay, we could have restricted weapons and operators, but then it creates this big friction moment where players are like, I just want to play the game. I want to have fun in my mode. I know some players might have more of a stance on it, like I want it to be pure milsim, but the spirit was to make it welcoming for all players. Etienne says, I remember sometime with my friends, we're like, yeah, today we all buy a different turtle. And we wanted to be the 4 turtles to win a match. It was crazy. So I was just thinking of those possibilities in front of the player. Milsim, one of my friends, is really hardcore. He only plays with 1 attachment. Okay, at that point though, he's also just costing the team. The man doesn't have a suppressor and a good barrel and a good optic. He's just gonna throw the game for you. That's his rule because it feels like he's cheating. He's like, oh no, it's a usable case of the weapon. I will only use 1. And I'm like, okay, man, if you want to do it, but I'll never go towards that path. So I think just having all those possibilities, basically just opening the door for whatever the player wants to experience with. So also here for those expecting like the milsim toggle rumor, it sounds cool on paper. It was only ever a rumor. It was never a real thing, and it's likely never going to happen just because of this exact reason here. We also get some talk on some cheating stuff here. IGN says, this leads me to one of the final questions. Activision has increased comms around cheating in Warzone and made changes recently, like with crossplay. Are you seeing any improvements with Verdansk coming back? Pete says, to be honest with you, that's not our area explicitly. The whole cheating side, I would refer to the Ricochet team for that stuff. Anecdotally, the game has been feeling good. I don't think I'm getting cheated on. I think that's even what our streamers are saying, but again, that's not really a data point. So it's not just, oh, if the streamers say there's a lot of cheaters, then yes, there's a lot of cheaters, or vice versa. If the streamers are saying there's not a lot of cheaters, then there's not. They're going off of their internal data points of what they get from Ricochet. Etienne says, and just something to add, it's just that it's always something on top of our minds, so we're making sure the right person speaks with the right team and make sure that we put a lot of effort, because everything we saw from the community, it's important for us too. So just making sure that we put all the energy needed to prevail, making sure the game is in the right condition. So unfortunately, Raven, specifically Beanox here specifically, doesn't have the insights on cheating, but they have said on record now that it does seem like it's going better than it has been as of late. Obviously with time though, and as cheats continue to get updated, that may change, and I think we're already starting to see that trend a little bit, unfortunately. And then lastly here, IGN says, do you have any message to the community about your plans for Warzone in 2025, what to expect going forward? So this is pretty big as well. Pete says, first of all, thanks for either coming back or continuing with us. Of course, we're players too. We strive to make the game as good as possible. The launch of Verdansk, the simplification of our systems and our mechanics and just the flow is the beginning. We're going to cultivate the game, and we're pretty excited for our roadmap moving forward. So they've already got long-term plans. We've got some great surprises that I'm not going to spoil today in store, but we hear the community and we want feedback. We listen, we take all opinions, we have our own. We like hearing what the players think and feel. The passion is really important for us because that fuels us. We're excited to continue the journey. Etienne closes with, totally, the first thing is just thanks for all the players. Even the bad things, it's important to know both sides of the community, what you like, what you dislike. We're all passionate. We all have a lot of great ideas that are coming down the path. Warzone has so much room to grow, and the opportunities right in front of us. So I just hope that with all the different players, we get to those moments. And then after that, they stick as memories with them. So Warzone, long-term plans already in the pipeline. Verdansk not going anywhere. Significant changes to TTK or milsim and realism stuff likely not going to happen here, at least for now. maybe once they get more feedback as time goes on, we could see some adjustments there, but some interesting insight into, you know, the sort of creation of Verdansk, the original roadmap and pipeline and game plan with how they wanted to bring it back, and some interesting details on what's going forward here. So obviously, as time goes on, as we do see new updates go out, as we do see new changes, the devs reveal more details, whether it's in this form, through tweets, whatever the case is. You guys already know, if you want to stay up to date with all of that, truly everything going on in COD, this is the place to be. So feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. And if you enjoyed this video, a like rating is always seriously appreciated as well. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.